want to go, O God of all creation, grant this one request. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed. And so with peace and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed. Amen. Please may we have our seats. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before we get started, may we please take a safety brief about this hall. Technical.
Welcome to the Armed Forces Officers Mess is the major entrance into the mess building, and the hall has 4 entrances and exits as indicated as Exit A, Exit B, Exit C, and Exit 4, which leads to the lobby. The point C beside the main entrance gate. All officers and invited guests are required to exit the building in an orderly manner and assemble at the muster points to allow firefighters to combat the fire. Physically challenged persons should be assisted by those seated next to them to evacuate the building. In event of a power outage during an emergency, the exit marked in reflective materials will help guide you to the nearest exit point to await further instructions. Should you forget any item, please do not go back into the building. Your safety is our priority. Thank you for your attention and please.
Thank you so very much. Our special guest of honor, sir, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to watch and listen to a brief documentary on civil-military relations.
Being a civilian is far more dangerous than being a soldier in today's armed conflicts. Men, women, boys and girls are raped, abducted and killed. Several armed groups even pinpoint civilians as their main target. The UN and NATO all prioritize protecting innocent people. They know how to avoid collateral damage, but keep failing in protecting civilians from violence, abuse and death. Failing to protect means that the population will lose faith in you. For you it means losing support. Support that would be critical to fulfill your military goals. New knowledge proves that military thinking needs to change. We must understand how and why perpetrators attack civilians. Protecting civilians is the key to people's trust and the key to lasting peace.
Thank you so very much. Our most esteemed special guest of honor, the Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Mohammed Idris, ably represented here by Mr. Ogbodo Chinasa Nnam, who is the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry. The Honorable Minister of Defense, ably represented by the Director, Army, Dr. Sunday Musa. The Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, represented here by Jumai Katagun, Director, Humanitarian Affairs. A very esteemed Chief of Defense Staff, General C.J. Musa. Representatives of the Service Chiefs and Inspector General of Police. The Chief of Defense Intelligence, heads of ministries, departments, and agencies of government, heads of paramilitary organizations here present, the commandants of tri-service institutions, principal staff officers of defense and services headquarters, members of the diplomatic corps, President of DIPOA, NAOA, NOAA, NAFOA, and POA ably represented here. Our esteemed resource persons, our revered spiritual fathers, members of the civil society and academia, very senior officers serving and retired, distinguished invited guests, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Emmanuel Unuako, the Chief Protocol Officer to the Commandant National Defense College, the lead master of ceremonies of this propitious occasion. Let me most warmly welcome our esteemed special guest of honor and other distinguished guests to the Maiden Defense Headquarters Civil Military Conference 2025. This conference intends to provide a platform for continuing dialogue, fostering mutual understanding whilst advancing the scope and reach of the non-kinetic components of the overall strategy for defeating terrorism and significantly enhancing Nigeria's national security. This, I must say, is driven by the imperative of the Chief of Defense Staff's people-centric leadership concept of the armed forces. And it also aligns with Nigeria's democratic values and human security principles. It is against this backdrop that the Civil Military Relations Conference will contribute to a more people-centric security approach, ultimately fostering national unity and socio-economic stability. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is my singular honor and privilege to respectfully invite the Chief of Defense Civil Military Relations, Rear Admiral O.A. Bankole, to deliver his welcome address. Please, let's welcome him with a round of applause. The special guest of honor, Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Mohammed Idris Malagi, ably represented by the Permanent Secretary, Mr. Obodo Chinaza Malam, Permanent Secretary. Permit me to align with the already well-laid protocol, but I must acknowledge my boss and principal, who makes all things happen in the defense headquarters and even in the larger society of the military. I must acknowledge General Christopher Gwabe Musa, the Chief of Defense Staff. Sir, thank you for all you do, and I pray that God will continue to strengthen you, sir. This is a welcome address by the Chief of Defense Civil Military Relations at the Civil Military Relations Conference organized by the Defense Headquarters. It is with great pleasure and a deep sense of responsibility that I welcome you all to the Defense Headquarters Maiden Civil Military Relations Conference. This event marks a significant milestone in our ongoing commitment towards the Chief of Defense Staff's people-centric concept and bridging the trust deficit between the civil populace and the military. First and foremost,
I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the dignitaries and participants at this conference. Your dedication to foster civil-military relations is commendable and inspires us all to strive for a more civilian inclusive military community. Let me begin by appreciating the Honorable Minister of Information, who is ably represented, for accepting our invitation to serve as the special guest of honor at this gathering. Your presence here today sends a strong signal that the government remains committed to strengthening national cohesion, transparency, and constructive engagement between the armed forces of Nigeria and the civilian population. Our distinguished guest, the essence of this conference is rooted in a truth that we must all acknowledge, that there is a growing disconnect between the armed forces of Nigeria and the civilian population. Many of our fellow citizens perceive the military not as protectors, but as a force to be feared, a force seen as brutal, offensive, and distant from the people. This unfortunate perception, regardless of its origin, erodes trust and weakens the very fabric of our national unity. Yet, let us be reminded that the armed forces of Nigeria are a national institution owned by the government and funded by the people of Nigeria. The military is not an occupying force. It is a product of our collective will, serving under constitutional authority for the security and well-being of Nigeria. Therefore, this conference has been convened by the Chief of Defense Staff to help change that narrative. It is an avenue to advance non-kinetic strategies and tools of peace, dialogue, outreach, and public engagement that can restore trust and rebuild the vital bridge between the military and the civilians we have sworn to serve. Over the course of this conference, we will deliberate on strategies to improve public perception of the armed forces, create a sense of civilian ownership of the military, and strengthen collaboration with the civil society, the media, the traditional institutions as partner in peace building. I am particularly encouraged by the diverse range of speakers and panelists who will be sharing their insights and experiences during this two-day conference. Their expertise and perspectives will undoubtedly enrich our discussions and help us to chart a course towards a more equitable future. As we embark on this journey together, let us remember that achieving a sustainable peace, unity, and national development is a collective effort. It requires the active participation and support of everyone in this room and beyond. By working together, we can break barriers, challenges, stereotypes, and create a military culture that values respect and contributions by all. Let me, on behalf of the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Gwabi Musa, assure all our civilians again, the CDS has, every time he has assured, and he has shown the commitment to assure of protection. Let us assure our civil society actors here today that we are listening and ready to learn. We are committed to learning from your perspectives and working with you in building a military culture that values humanity, partnership, and shared responsibilities. I am confident that this conference will be a catalyst for meaningful dialogue, actionable solutions, and lasting solutions. As we commence this crucial dialogue, I invite us all to engage with open minds and a shared vision of a Nigeria where the armed forces and the civilian population walk hand in hand in the journey towards a sustainable peace, unity, and national development. May I, on behalf of the Chief of Defense Staff and the entire Defense Headquarters, welcome you once again, and I look forward to the fruitful outcomes that will emerge from these partnerships. Thank you, and I wish all of us a productive and inspiring conference. Thank you. Before I drop the mic, there will be some different documentary interludes. But I also mentioned something which I need to emphasize. About 4 days ago, the Chief of Defense Staff sent me to Makurdi and a team. That was before the Makurdi attack. And because since inception, he has been sending us on trips from the civil military relations. We have covered all the geopolitical zones, apart from Bayelsa, which are supposed to go next month. So when we went there, we went to some IDP camps, and when we got there, from the IDP camp, I was sending video to the CDS, and he was asking us, Bankole, what can we do to support these people? There were 12,875 people in the IDP camp at that date. 2 days after we left, there was an attack. As of today, there are so many people, or more than double in the IDP camp. Why I'm saying this is that the CDS and the military is doing a lot, but we can only do little. The people have to help themselves. I think the CDS will emphasize this during his talk. I want to thank you all for coming, and may God bless us all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, the Chief of Defense Civil Military Relations, for your excellent and eloquently delivered welcome address. We deeply appreciate you, sir. A round of applause once again for him. Before we take, which obviously will be one of the high points, our next speaker, may we please sit back and watch again one of the documentaries on the subject matter. Technical.
Nation, the bond between its armed forces and its civilian population forms the foundation of peace, unity and progress. In Nigeria, this bond is nurtured daily through the vital work of the Civil Military Relations departments of the Defense Headquarters and the services. Civil military relations, simply put, are the interactions between the military and the society it has sworn to protect. It is a partnership where the military operates under civilian oversight and authority, while fostering trust, respect, and cooperation with the people. Strong civil-military relations ensure that the armed forces are not only protectors in times of conflict, but also contributors to enduring peace, national development, humanitarian assistance, and community building. Today, Nigeria's civil-military relations are marked by both achievements and challenges. The armed forces of Nigeria are held in high esteem for their dedication to protecting the nation's sovereignty and aiding civil authorities during emergencies. However, challenges remain due to in town hall meetings to listen to civilian concerns and demystify military operations. Media transparency, providing timely, factual information to the public to counter misinformation and build confidence. These efforts are designed to break down barriers, foster dialogue, and promote mutual respect between soldiers and civilians. Pioneering and guiding all these efforts is the visionary leadership and command philosophy of the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Gwabin Musa. General Musa believes in a military that is not distant from the people, but rooted within them, serving not only as guardians of sovereignty, but also as ambassadors of peace and development.
If we are protecting the people and they are not happy with us for what we are doing, then there's a problem somewhere. So it's always important, and I've found it wherever I've worked, that once you work with people there and they're happy with you, they make your job a lot easier. I was in Maiduguri for 19 months as the theater commander, and I can tell you some of the things where we got success were because we made the people believe in what we were doing, and they could read that we were really sincere in our conduct. We did not go there to infringe on anybody's human rights. We were not, we didn't carry acts of impunity against people. If there were mistakes, we took it and made amends. And then we gave everybody the ability to understand that he has a role to play. I think that's very critical.
He reiterated this in his command philosophy, which emphasizes to nurture a professional armed forces of Nigeria that is people-centric, collaborative, and capable of meeting its constitutional responsibilities in a joint environment. Professionalism with compassion, demanding high operational standards, but always anchored in respect for human rights. People-centric, prioritizing human security and the protection and welfare of the civilian population. Collaboration in a joint environment, promoting collaboration with other stakeholders, community leaders, traditional institutions, and civil society to sustain peace. Transparency and accountability, building a military that is open, responsive, and respected by the people. Under the able leadership of General C.G. Musa, the armed forces of Nigeria are being repositioned to win not just battles, but also the hearts and minds of the good people of Nigeria. As Nigeria continues its journey towards lasting peace and prosperity, the bond between the military and the civilian population must grow stronger. The Defense Headquarters Civil Military Relations Department, under the guidance of General C.G. Musa, remains steadfast in its commitment to fostering trust, respect, and partnership. The Armed Forces of Nigeria pledge to continue being a source of pride, protection, and service to every Nigerian, regardless of tribe, gender, religion, or region. Together, united in purpose and hope, the military and the good people of Nigeria will build a safer, stronger, and more prosperous nation. One nation, one people, one future. Together we stand.
Thank you so very much, most esteemed audience, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Our next presenter is one with impeccable character, a man who deserves the respect and admiration of every one of us. For me, I take delight in introducing him each time I have the opportunity, because I'm one of his mentees, though he doesn't know. He's a man that is most honored in this country, a leader of the Armed Forces of Nigeria. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I take pleasure in welcoming to the podium the Chief of Defense Staff, General C.G. Musa. Let's welcome him with the most resounding round of applause.
Thank you very much. the special guest of honor, Minister of Information and National Orientation, ably represented by the Permanent Secretary, Mr. Obodo Chirata Nam, Representative of Honorable Minister here present, Representative of Senior Service Chiefs, and Inspector General of Police, heads of representative of ministries, departments, agencies, commanders of tri-service institutions, principal staff officers, members of the diplomatic corps here present, my lord, spiritual and temporal, members of the POA, NAWA, NOA, NAFOA, and POA, members of civil society, esteemed resource persons, very senior officers, both serving and retired, members of the press, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Normally, I don't like going through the protocol after it has been introduced, but because this is a civil military program, I went through it completely to show you the civilian aspect of the military. I thank you most sincerely for all of you being here. It is my singular honor to all Defense Civil Military Relations Conference. This occasion marks not just a significant step forward in our collective national journey, but also a new chapter in how we, the country, approach the challenges of security and national cohesion. Permit me to be appreciating all our invited, which affirms a shared commitment to a more inclusive, human-centered, and sustainable security architecture for Nigeria. It reinforces the idea that security is not the exclusive preserve of the armed forces, but a shared national responsibility. A responsibility that requires open dialogue, mutual trust, and active collaboration between the military and civilian actors. Historically, the relationship between the armed forces of Nigeria and the civilian population has at times been characterized by suspicion, fear, and mistrust. This unfortunately often hampered our ability to effectively work together, particularly in times of crisis or national emergency. The military has been seen not as a partner in progress, but as an occupying force, alien to the people it is meant to serve and protect. And I think this is not far-fetched, because I'm sure the military's foray into politics during the military regimes, when we had coups and counter-coups, has given people a negative impression about the military. But I can assure you, having celebrated 26 years of democracy, the military has evolved. It is not that military. This is a new military that is people-centric, because we understand that without the people, we cannot perform, especially with the contemporary security challenges we are facing of asymmetric warfare. We need the people to be on our side, and we can only do that if we show love and care and sense of responsibility in our conduct. Today, we must acknowledge that perception and commit ourselves to changing it. The reality is the armed forces of Nigeria are a constitutionally established institution rooted in democratic principles to the Nigerian people. Our mandate is to safeguard the territorial integrity of this country, and just as importantly, to support civil authority in ensuring peace and stability and development. This conference, therefore, is not a one-off event, but a strategic initiative conceptualized to become an annual platform for honest engagement, thoughtful reflection, and practical collaboration. The overchanging goal is to win hearts and minds and shift from a purely kinetic, force-based approach to one that prioritizes trust, building, respect for human rights, and community partnership. Our theme, Winning Hearts and Minds, Non-Kinetic Approach to National Security, encapsulates this new direction. It challenges us to think beyond weapons and warfare. It calls us to invest in human security, to build resilient communities, and to reinforce the idea that every Nigerian, whether in uniform or not, has a stake in the peace and prosperity of our great nation. And I think that is very critical. Every Nigerian must take ownership of Nigeria as a country. It is in this regard that this conference has been deliberately structured, participatory and inclusive. Over the next 2 days, we will engage in panel discussion, interactive sessions, and presentation from experts, civil society actors, and security practitioners. We will also listen to stories and experiences that reveal both the successes and the challenges of civil-military engagement in various operational theaters across the country. My charge to my commanders all over the country is you must ensure that you protect the communities you are defending. And the people must understand that you are there for them and that you need them to succeed. At the end of this conference, we expect to emerge with not just recommendations but actionable frameworks that can be embedded in our planning, operations, and community outreach programs. Our ultimate ambition is to see the armed forces of Nigeria not only respected as a formidable security force, but embraced as a trusted national partner for peace, development, and democratic consolidation. Let me take this opportunity to thank all the individuals and institutions that have contributed to the realization of this maiden edition. I particularly appreciate the Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, His Excellency Mohammed Idris Malagi, for accepting to serve as our special guest of honor. I've seen the DG VON that is here. SK is also here, and so many dignitaries are here. Say a very big thank you. You have always continued to partner with us. Let me not forget our spouses. I want to thank you very much for always being here, and our partners that are here. Say a very big thank you. Your presence sends a strong message that national security is as much about narrative and perception as it is about strength and strength. So our traditional ruler role is highly commendable. You remain the custodians of our values, culture, and moral compass. Count on your voices, keeping bridging divides in our communities. To our partners in civil society, the media, are essential. We welcome your ideas and your support. And all our engagements. By bullets, partnership, shared purpose. I wish us all an impactful to seize the opportunity. President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, the necessary requirements for us to carry out our task. I want to also thank all Nigerians for the support we're getting. We also commiserate with families that have lost ones and those that are injured. But the civilians, our personnel, Supreme, we assure you everything that is required to make sure that Nigeria is safer, Nigeria is prosperous, and Nigeria is peaceful. But we need your support. We cannot do it alone. Again, to appreciate Mr. President, today as I stand here, 19 June 2025, marks it that we are appointed as the Chief of Defense. And so to us is a challenge that we will continue to fight for, and we assure you.
Thank you so very much, our most esteemed Chief of Defense Staff. We're profoundly grateful for your very impressive and brilliant opening remarks. I want to say a very big congratulations to you, sir, for 2 years of eventful leadership. We say a very big thank you. I think he deserves a resounding round of applause. Thank you so much, sir. We are still going to take one more of the documentaries that have been lined up for this opening ceremony. It's just to bring us into the subject matter. So technical, let's go with the last of the series of documentaries.
Another success story in the war against terrorism in the Northeast, as Nigerian federal government makes inroads in its non-kinetic approach tackling insurgency in the Northeast and beyond. The federal government has initiated a humanitarian program to encourage willing, repentant combatants to surrender and embrace peace. The program, Operation Safe Corridor, has since inception since 2015 transformed the lives of thousands of these ex-combatants, de-radicalization, rehabilitation and reintegration initiatives for themselves and their affected communities where they come from. Operation Safe Corridor, led by the Chief of Defense Staff and Chairman Steering Committee, Operation Safe Corridor, General Christopher Kwabi Musa, has various agencies from the Office of National Security Advisor, Nigerian Armed Forces, Nigerian Police Force, and 17 other agencies working for. This time, 390 clients who were former members of terrorist group organizations and undergone series of programs to become responsible members of the society. These clients will undergo 3 phases of transformation. These are induction phase. Here, clients arrive from the airport to the camp of the Operation Safe Corridor to be part of the process of identification and documentation. Shortly after, they undergo preliminary medical tests. For those having any psychological trauma, they will be treated by the medical staff as part of the psychological first aid treatment. More documentation assessment is carried out with categorization and classification of these clients. More importantly, outreach to the families begins. The next phase begins with clients going through an intensive rehabilitation process as a comprehensive program on counseling and vocational activities carried out. These clients who have voluntarily surrendered are counseled to become responsible citizens. Shortly after, assessment and evaluation is carried out with case management on these clients. More importantly, biometrics of these clients are taken with the National Identity Management Commission. Introduction to vocational activities form part of the rehabilitation process as these clients are introduced to these jobs that will form part of the reintegration process. More family outreach continues with family and community visits. Sports play a critical part in the rehabilitation process as clients engage in sports activities as part of the healing process and the rigors of the insurgency as we promote cohesion, team building and responsibility. A quasi-judicial panel is set up to look at the cases of 390 clients. As part of the process, there is briefing by officials of the camp to the clients on the procedures during and after graduation, as well as the process of reintegration. The ambient sound at the camp reflects the mood of the occasion as 390 clients sing the national anthem with joy and fulfillment, having gone through the de-radicalization process. Oath taking remains the fundamental aspect of the graduation ceremony, as clients pledge their allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, going against the principles of terrorist groups on which they were indoctrinated to.
The clients graduating today were subjected and exposed to various therapies to ascertain their mental states and readiness for integration. I am pleased to announce to you that they all did very well. Accordingly, they are certified fit for graduation and ready to be reintegrated into the society as better citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Clients are presented with certificates and starter packs as vocational learning to be part of the building process of the community affected.
As part of the de-radicalization, rehabilitation, and reintegration program, the clients were trained on a certain vocational trainings meant to equip them with skills for self-reliance after reintegration to their communities. Accordingly, 19 clients indicated interest in barbing as a vocation. 64 clients went for shoemaking. 69 clients chose wedding, and 45 clients selected tailoring. More so, 17 clients went for carpentry. 31 clients went for bakery, and 9 clients went for electrical repairs, while 71 indicated interest in laundry services. Imperative to mention that 65 clients participated in the integrated farming training activities, which include agro, poultry, and fish farming.
Operation Safe Corridor is not just about de-radicalization, rehabilitation, and reintegration. It also shows concern on the people in the areas affected by insurgency and the host community as part of the military-civilian partnership. Chief of Defense Staff and Chairman Steering Committee on Operation Safe Corridor, General Chris Kwapi Musa, has shown concern on the plight of these communities and the people. As part of the partnership, Chief of Defense Staff is carrying out different interventions, amongst which is 3 eye surgeries, cataract treatment, and the provision of medicated spectacles for residents.
General Christopher Kwapi Musa.
The desire of the Chief of Defense Staff to impact the local population. They are our host. So he thought that he has a lot of an array of programs he has arranged for them, but he said we should start with the eye treatment first, where he provides cataract treatment. He provides glasses for those that require glasses. Then those that need just treatment, they are treated. While those that require surgery are given surgical operation freely. Each of the process is at the expense of the Chief of Defense Staff. And what is the objective? The objective, as you are aware, counterterrorism is, people are at the center of counterterrorism. The adversaries, they are looking for people to recruit, and the government forces are striving to pull the population from them so that they will not be victims of recruitment.
Another set of individuals going to be part of the building process, depopulating the agents of insurgency in the country.
Thank you so much. A round of applause. I tell you, for me, these documentaries are quite instructive and enlightening. Of course, they help us to know much about the Chief of Defense Staff programs and policies. And of course, celebrating him for being on the saddle of leadership for these 2 years is a mean feat. So once again, he deserves a round of applause. Did you see those dance steps of the repentant insurgents? For me, it was those dance steps that caught my attention. If they could do the Michael Jackson dance steps, that means they can do something worthwhile with their lives. And of course, it's again in line with the CDS people-centric leadership. Once again, sir, we say thank you so very much, sir. We have come to the high point of this opening ceremony. Of course, it is a moment that we've been waiting for, to listen to the keynote speech. And this is to be delivered by our special guest of honor. Without further ado, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming most resoundly the special guest of honor, ably represented by Mr. Ogbodo Chinasa Nam. Thank you so much, sir. A round of applause for him as he steps. Sir.
Orientation is unavoidably absent as he's engaged in other important official engagements, and he has asked me to represent him. This is the keynote speech by the Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation at the Civil Military Relations Conference organized by the Defense Headquarters on the 10th to 20th June 2025. The Honorable Minister of Defense, Mohammed Badru Abubakar, CON MNI, represented by Dr. Musa Sunday, Director Army, Ministry of Defense Headquarters. The Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Professor Nentewa Gashua Weltada. The Chairman, Senate Committee on Defense, Senator Ahmed Lawan, GCON. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher G. Musa, Service Chiefs, Inspector General of Police, the Chief of Defense Intelligence, heads of ministries, departments, and agencies of government, heads of paramilitary organizations, commandants of prior service institutions, principal staff officers of defense and services headquarters, members of the diplomatic corps, the presidents of the POA, NAOA, NOAA, NAPOA, and POA, esteemed resource person, our revered spiritual fathers, members of the civil society and academia, very senior officers serving and retired, distinguished invited guests, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great honor and a deep sense of national duty that I am speaking at this conference, which marks a significant milestone in our nation's journey towards civil-military relations, convened by the Defense Headquarters. I commend the leadership of armed forces for recognizing the urgent need to bridge the widening gap between the military and the civilians they are sworn to protect. This gathering is not just timely, but essential. The theme, winning hearts and minds, non-kinetic approaches to national security, is a call to action. It is a recognition that our military's effectiveness and efficiency depends on the full ownership and participation of all Nigerians. The reality we face today is uncomfortable but undeniable. A trust deficit exists between the military and many segments of the Nigerian population. Civilians in some quarters perceive the armed forces not as partners in peace, but as a force of aggression, brutal, offensive, and distant. This perception, whether based on history, misinformation, or isolated incidents, poses a great threat to national unity and stability. Let us remember that the armed forces of Nigeria are not a foreign entity. They are not a detached machinery. They are a national institution, owned, funded, and mandated by the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria on behalf of every Nigerian citizen. In truth, the armed forces belong to the people. Therefore, it is time for our people to reclaim that ownership. It is time for Nigerians to see the military as an integral part of our national family, not an occupying force, but a force for good, for protection, and for progress. This conference marks a crucial step towards achieving that vision. By focusing on non-kinetic strategies, dialogue, community engagement, media sensitization, humanitarian collaboration, we affirm that national security is not only about firepower. It is also about trust, empathy, and partnership. As the Minister of Information and National Orientation, I see an enormous role for the media and the public communication in this mission. We must be deliberate in reshaping the public narrative about our own forces. We must amplify stories of sacrifice, of community service, of lives saved and dignity restored. We must challenge misinformation and foster responsible reporting. Moreover, we must build stronger bridges of interaction through town halls, joint projects, civic education, and institutional frameworks that keep the military close to the heartbeat of the nation. Let me assure you that the Federal Ministry of Information stands ready to work hand in hand with the Defense Headquarters, civil society, and the media to implement the outcomes of this conference. Together, we will shape a new chapter in civil-military relations, one rooted in mutual respect, transparency, and shared purpose. In closing, I congratulate the organizers and participants of this important conference. May your deliberations be fruitful, and may the outcomes pave the way for a stronger, more united, and more secure Nigeria. Thank you. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
That was the keynote speech excellently delivered by the representative of our special guest of honor. Let's once again applaud him. Thank you so much, sir. For want of time, we're going to be very, very fast with the remaining programs. Before we do that, let me announce that very shortly, our most esteemed Chief of Defense Staff will step up to make presentations to our special guest and other guests. Thereafter, we'll have some group photographs, and immediately after the group photographs, the first two rows As the two rows will move, ushers will direct you up to observe the coffee and tea break, while our other guests will be ushered by the ushers as well to the garden where we will observe our coffee break. So without, again, further ado, let me invite most respectfully our Chief of Defense Staff to please step forward to make a set of presentations to our guest. Thank you so much. A round of applause for the Chief of Defense Staff. The first presentation is to be made to the Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation. Let's welcome his representative, Jumai Katagum. A round of applause for her as she steps forward. What's the mistake? The next is to be made to the Honorable Minister of Defense, ably represented by Dr. Sunday Musa. A round of applause for him. And of course, finally, our special guest of honor, ably represented by Mr. Obodo Chinasa Nnam. A round of applause for him. So we'll just have the group. Please, may I request esteemed recipients to please step forward for the group photograph, sir. The representatives of the ministers and our special guest of honor, sir. Thank you so very much, sir. The first row, representative of the service chiefs, sir, the commandant, sir, and thank you, sir. Thank you so much. The first row can please, apart from the CDS and the representatives of the ministers. So please, representative of the service chiefs, thank you so much, sir. So now let's have the second row. A second row and the resource persons. All the presenters, moderators, and discussants.
After this, the tea break. There will be such persons to join them in here.
Thank you. Are you done? Thank you so much. Ushers, please, just